really about, it was about sex and love addiction. It was about what's underneath addiction. What's underneath the drug addiction is you're medicating the pain of not being able to connect to another person. I'm the obsessor. I'm not the sex addict, but I obsess, and it keeps me away from relationships. I'm only now at 40 venturing out to try to have an actual real relationship. And no one could look me in the eye. It was just like when I talked about obsession and stalking, of getting very, very obsessed. I mean, I did things that I'm very embarrassed of, but I'm talking about it, but no one will even say that word, stalker or sex, but yet the drug show was well received and it was sexy and cool. I don't know why, but it's, and no one liked that show. And that's what is at the bottom of addiction, whatever it is, shopping, gambling, drug addiction, is that lack of an ability to be intimate. But no one wants to talk about it because it involves sex and sex.
Well, just adding to that, I think also that people have like an aversion to talking about sex addiction more so than others because we all kind of enjoy sex, and we could all be prone to being addicted to it, whereas a lot of people would like shun drugs or alcohol. It's not for me. But deep down we all have this love of sex, and it could go to a place where where it could become like harmful. So that could be part of the reason why people kind of are more, don't want to talk about it as much, because it could, affect all of us at some point, to some degree.
We have a Twitter question I'd like to address to Val. With an online dating community becoming available on Facebook, how do you think that's going to change their platform, and will it change the way people see Facebook?
Do you mean, I think the question is how will Facebook change to adapt to, the appetite for online dating? And I don't know. I mean, they just had their F8 conference and they didn't release anything, to my knowledge, that's too dating oriented. But I think that there's, and this goes back to something that I kind of raised earlier, people's social networks, whether that's your Twitter, your Facebook, or your Tumblr, whatever social media you're using, is usually very distinct from your online dating personality. So necessarily the things that you're sharing with your friends on Facebook are not the types of things that you're advertising on dating. So I really don't see the crossover between the two. So I don't know what Facebook will do. Who knows? Maybe they will have Facebook date or whatever they're going to call it. Who knows? But I actually think that because people's identities are separate on social media versus your online dating, that there really isn't a crossover there. And Facebook is doing quite well in just social media and connecting people as friends or whatever you call it. I think that they're maybe not going to do that pivot.
You think Facebook's doing okay, really? I was going to say there's already, maybe just a little. Anyhow, there's already Facebook apps for dating. I mean, so there is already niche communities that are happening on Facebook with dating, and none of them have really taken off all that much. I mean, they're there, but it's what you were saying. I mean, that people are going to different social networks and to different communities to definitely do different actions, and Facebook just doesn't really seem to be where.
So online dating, you need an avatar that's better than yourself, but for your social
What's your
media
dating resume? Necessarily the things you're going to share on Facebook, like somebody will post, oh, I ate this for lunch, or I like to play farm ball. Like those are not the things that you're going to share with somebody who's in your potential dating pool. You want to be this, and again, maybe this goes to the whole virtual thing, but this object of somebody wanting to be with you, and you're curating this resume of the ideal that someone would want to date. So it's very different than the image you're presenting on Facebook, which is like, hey, my friends, here are my photos, this is what I'm doing, this is really more close to what my life is.
Especially with the new layout, too, which is basically your whole social tree of life from birth to death, so that's a lot in the beginning when you're just getting to know somebody.
Right. We have an audience question.
Well, I was going to piggyback off of Val. I worked for eHarmony for a few years, and what we found, people were using Facebook to kind of back up and validate before they went on their online date. So you meet someone on OkCupid, and then the men always will ask for your Facebook because they want to make sure the pictures that you have on your online dating profile match up with what your friends have posted about you, and it's kind of like a way to do kind of due diligence on your date. But my comment was more towards everybody is profiting off of digital porn industry. Some of the biggest corporate names in America profit. I mean, all the hotels, that's their highest gross margins are from porn renting in, hotel rooms. Then the other thing was, women, fortunately, we've had great vibrators around for years, and they only get better and better. I have many myself, and that still doesn't replace sex, even though those vibrators have a better chance of orgasming with them than with a guy. So I don't see how virtual sex would ever replace the real thing.
Combine the guy with the vibrator. Win-win.
Agreed, but I mean, it's still different, but it's still necessary. And I just don't think it's only going to get refined and better. But fortunately for women, I think we're kind of have the edge in technology and consumer electronics for that area.
That's changing, but yeah, you know, actually the porn industry, I mean, maybe Nina would know better than me, but from what I know of it, it's lost a lot of money because of technology. It's actually losing money because more now than ever, we can get free images of stuff. So people aren't paying for it. However, the adult toy industry has been quite prosperous even in a bad economy. I think, you know, in the wine industry too. So I think anything that reduces stress might be good in a bad economy. I don't know. So.
Adult novelties are doing very well because people are staying home and trying to connect. And the online porn definitely has given the business a huge hit. I would say production is down easily 50% in the last couple of years. It used to be you could be a full-time adult performer and pay your rent and pay your car note, and now it is slowly turning back into a part-time job the way it was when I started. But a lot of that free porn is stolen porn.
At BlogHer this year in the swag bags, 3,500 women were all given vibrators along with brawny paper towels and children's toys. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, there's...
Things are changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
It was 35 very happy mommy bloggers.
Well, I think what's being talked about is our notions of personal privacy are changing. I mean, when I grew up, you know, back in the day, you know, you didn't want anyone to know anything about you, and Big Brother was going to find out, and, you know, you didn't want to know where you lived or your credit card. You know, now everything's out there, and as your sexual experiences become more accessible, the reasons to pay for it are in decline. I mean, that's absolutely true. So where the pornographers are challenged these days than in ways they weren't before.
That's funny that you say that, because I was at Digital Hollywood too, and one of the things that was brought up is how we've changed. Like back in the day, it was the mystery was a value. Like when you were mysterious, that was like cool. But now it's like how much information you have out there makes you cool. Look at Facebook. I mean, how much can you put out? Like let's draw a picture